Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the 2017 Little League World Series. I got it right today. Got it right today. We're off to a good start. You can obviously see we've been moved indoors here at the Little League complex in South Williamsport. From the Williamsport Sun-Gazette, he's Dr. Chris Masse. I'm Mitch Rupert. Big thanks to Chris Downs, Brian McClintock with Little League for letting us use the interview room here to do our daily video update. Chris, we got some good stuff to talk about. Some good ball games yesterday here.
It was a good first day.
It really was. You did some work for a change over here. It was good to see. It was a good effort.
I try to. I'm kind of like an actor.
You pretend to do
It's
stuff.
the role I play. You try to look busy, and you can fool a lot of people.
No, you don't fool anybody. Big things going on yesterday. Texas with a win over Michigan to get things rolling. New Jersey falls by a run to Connecticut yesterday. Venezuela with a nice win to start things off over Mexico, and Canada for the second year in a row gets a big win to start the tournament. We're going to get into most of that here. The thing we got to talk about is, Chris, yesterday you picked the Lufkin, Texas team as your team to come out of the U.S. side of this tournament and get into the World Final. They put on quite an impressive power display yesterday. How much fun was that to watch?
That was a lot of fun. I said yesterday is my 19th series. I don't recall seeing back-to-back-to-back home runs like I did in the third inning there, so that was a lot of fun.
And can we talk about, number one, yesterday we were talking about Marcus Phillips from the South Dakota team saying he could hit one where we were standing up on the hill at Lamade Stadium. I don't know who it was from Texas, nearly hit one right where we were standing.
Hunter Ditzworth, the winning pitcher who threw a two-hitter, and he coming in, I think, I knew from watching him play that he was probably the top guy on a team with a lot of good guys. But he showed it all last night, and I think he surprised himself with that one.
The thing that struck me about that is how loud it was. Just off the bat, it was so loud.
Yeah, that one was, you knew right away, that's not only is that a home run, now it's going to be interesting to see how far this lands. It was like a missile.
There have maybe been, because I think this is my 9th Little League World Series, because I'm not nearly as old as you, but I can only think of maybe a handful that have gotten to the top third of that hill. I think of Cole Wagner the other year from the Lewisberry team, I think at Redland.
Yeah.
Have you seen many that have gotten to the top of the hill like that did?
I could probably count them on two hands. I would say probably 5 or so, maybe a little more than that, but I know it's not double digits, so it's a rarity. I think you see it more, most, let's say I've seen it 5-6 times. Most of them have probably been within the last couple of years.
Wow.
Because I think the kids just seem to get more powerful and powerful every year.
Now, the thing you said to me this morning as we were talking about yesterday's games, it kind of intrigued me a little bit, is you thought Michigan still showed well in that game because it was really one big inning where you had the back-to-back-to-back home runs.
Yeah.
Did you think that they still played pretty well and was still the threat you think they could be?
Yeah, they didn't. Ditzworth struck out 9, but he was backed by some phenomenal defense. So, Michigan squared up some balls and hit some balls hard, but Texas made a lot of great plays. I thought their pitching was pretty good. You take away that one inning with the 3 home runs, and I thought Jack Jones and Drew Hill pitched pretty well. I think Hill was phenomenal in relief. He kept them off balance. And that's kind of the way they've been. Drew Hill started the regional final for them and is their number 4 or 5 pitcher. So I think that speaks to the depth and what's gotten them here. And I like their lineup, and I just think it was a case of they just ran into a phenomenal team last night. But I still think that they could be a dangerous team here.
Now, for the record, that's not the same Drew Hill from the Oilers teams that was such a threat on Tecmo Super
That
Bowl,
was
right?
the first thought that when I saw his name, when I was researching teams, that was the immediate thought.
I'm glad we're old enough to have that thought. Now, the big thing we talk about every year is there has never been a world champion here at the Little League World Series that has lost their first game of the tournament. Now we get an intriguing consolation game matchup tomorrow, I guess it is, Saturday, between New Jersey and Michigan. Are these two teams that whoever wins that game, could they make a run, get themselves into the Final Four?
Oh, I think it's definitely possible. I thought last night when I'm writing into the bracket, I said, man, one of these teams is going to be 2-0, and it's kind of hard to believe because they're really good. But Texas and Connecticut are really good too. But I think whoever wins that game is dangerous. Both of them have experience in this position. Michigan lost its first game at regionals 10-2 to Ohio. They won the next 4 games. They beat Ohio. They lost to Ohio 10-2. Came back to beat them 11-3 to get to the final. New Jersey lost its very first game of the season. They lost their first game in districts. Came back, ran roughshod through districts, and they won 21 straight games until yesterday. So whoever moves forward, I think, is a tough out. They both can hit the ball well, and they both have some good pitching depth. So, it's a tough road to go, especially at the Little League World Series, to try to pull it off. There's a reason it's never happened before, but I definitely not count either one of these teams out.
Pitch counts make the big difference now.
Yeah.
And New Jersey's in this tough spot because you're going to tell Ethan. Is it Ethan Richter?
Ethan Ryder.
Ethan Ryder.
Ethan Ryder had the right stuff. I'll be here all week,
That's
folks.
a shame. Ethan Ryder was a big part of the reason Connecticut pulled off that win yesterday over New Jersey. 7 strikeouts and 3 2/3 innings pitch for a Fairfield, Connecticut team that's been here before. That's just kind of a continuation of what he did at regionals. And I think he pitched 9+ innings at regionals, didn't allow a run. Was he a big part of the reason Connecticut got that win?
Huge. I think he was the MVP on a team that had great balance throughout the lineup yesterday and guys coming off the bench doing things. I think he was the one, when you look at what he did offensively and pitching-wise, that stood out the most. To be able to tame that offense the way he did is impressive stuff. New Jersey hit 10 home runs in regionals. They've been scoring runs in bunches all season, and he did the job. He contained them. He gave Connecticut a chance to win the game. New Jersey manager Rob Grano, I think it's Grano. Oh, sorry, New Jersey, if I got it wrong. But he said it was
that is at Doc Masse on Twitter.
He said it was the best fastball that they've seen all season, and they've played some really good teams just to get out of New Jersey, so that says a lot. He's their horse. He's been there all season, and I think Connecticut's – I said to you before we came on here that I think a lot of people were underestimating them for whatever reason, and they showed yesterday that they're the real deal.
Because I like to surprise Massey with stuff he hasn't studied, we're going to talk about Canada a little bit. And Chase Marshall yesterday, 2 home runs, including a grand slam. Canada wins 12-2 over Italy yesterday. This is back-to-back seasons now where Canada has come out with a big win. Obviously, beating Italy yesterday, not quite as big as beating Japan last year. But are you starting to sense some confidence in the Canadian program when they get here that they not only can compete but can win?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about that. I think success breeds success, and maybe in years past, I'm not a psychiatrist, but maybe the Canadian teams came here and didn't truly believe that they could get it done. And now after last year, especially beating Japan, I think that was such a statement for Canada. I don't think you can underestimate how big that was for their psyche. So yeah, I think it was big. If they could beat Venezuela and get to a winners bracket final, if they could win 2 games here, then that would really get something going there. But I think it's an important first step that they've taken. Now we'll see if they can take the next step.
Here's the thing we've seen in the last 2 years. Last year it was Lino Siniscalchi. Kid, I think he struck out like 10, hit the home run, carried the Ed Wing around the bases. And then yesterday it was Chase Marshall, whose mom was on the 1996 Canadian Olympic softball team. You're starting to see they have that dominant player. Like, for years we saw where it was just a group of talented kids. But they have that dominant kid, it seems like, now that's able to carry them a little bit.
Yeah, and if they can get a couple more of them, then they're going to be really dangerous. I think that's what separates them from a South Korea or Japan. The perennial powers here that have so many different big arms that they can throw at you and have so many different big hitters that can do damage. So I think if they get more complementary pieces, look out. But again, that's a good step in the right direction when you have that stud that you can rely on to win a game almost by himself.
I think that's going to do it here for us from the Friday edition of the 2017 Little League World Series. As always, you can read all of Chris's story on the U.S. field at www.sungazette.com. Ben Burgandy has the international coverage, which you can also read there. Follow us on Twitter. We are very witty and funny, except for...
Me especially?
When I say witty and funny, I mean me, not so much Chris and Ben.
I think I showed what I'm made of with that Ethan Ryder joke. That was pretty good.
Again, don't follow Chris. I actually have you muted on Twitter, which is
That's a
surprising.
big mistake.
Yeah, I think it's the right way to go. Anyway, that'll do it for us here from day 2 of the 2017 Little League World Series. From the Williams Sports Sun-Gazette, he's the Dr. Chris Masse. I'm Mitch Rupert. Have a good one, everyone.